Aaron, let's go ahead and do your guys's.
Another children's ministry, I guess, of sport is Libby and I went to Jamaica to go to an orphanage over there, and we've always been excited about seeing the needs of countries and children that are in different places. And our kids were old enough this year to take them and expose them to what's out there too. And I went on a mission trip before, and it kind of opens your eyes up to have a more of a worldly vision, to get outside of yourself and get outside of your community, and really just to do something for God and do something outside that. And this, with the food drive, and this is kind of the heart that we had, and the same heart that it goes in that should go in every situation. And so we went to this place. It was called the Robin's Nest. I'm wearing the T-shirt. It's a nest for today, a hope for the future, a hope for tomorrow, because they can't really do a lot with what they have and the way the government runs and all the orphanages. And we have a couple of statistics on the slides, but it's a 5-year process to get an adoption out of Jamaica. There's about 70,000 orphans in the country, and there's a lot of different laws. There's one instance that 2 of the kids that were in this orphanage, their mom was, I think, 13 when she had the first kid and like 14 when she had the second kid. And for those kids to be in the orphanage, they can't get adopted until that mom is of age to say they can be. So that mom has to get to 18 before she can release those kids to be adopted. And then in 5 years after that, those kids will have a chance of getting adopted. So it's really, really hard for them to actually do anything besides go to an orphanage or something like that, which there's not a lot of them. And Robin's Nest is one of them, and they're doing it well. And their heart is to do it well. And they can only keep the kids, I think, until 13. And so at 13, they either have to find some sort of foster care or they're just out. And they send them sometimes they send them to a housekeeping school where they can learn, become a maid or do some sort of service like that. But there's not a lot of options for them. And so, I mean, our heart for Jamaica was, I mean, in America, they have a lot of options here. There's foster care systems, there's different things like that, and scholarships that are provided. And so we're not really exactly sure what we're going to do for them. We just know we have a heart for them. And to get outside and to do something like that. They want us to bring back some people, a team maybe in the future. It's just, we're just kind of sharing our experience with this video, and hopefully God just continues to build upon what we want to do and the heart to help them out. And so we have a little bit of a slideshow, and then I think Libby will come up and say something after that. So go ahead and play. So the music in that slideshow was actually performed by the volunteers and the people that are working there, and some of the moms and the pod moms, and so they created that, and it was just a good experience for all of us. There's a couple of pictures there. Isaiah I'll tell a story because it's an awesome story. There's a little picture of a boy in a red shirt. He's probably 10 or 11 or something like that, and Isaiah was there, and the bracelets they held out, they all did bracelets that represent the different qualities of Christ, and they did a little project with all the kids, and Isaiah was a big helper. But that one kid in the red, he was an orphan, and he came in maybe when he was like 6 or 7 or something like that. He's only been there a couple years, and he was mean. The kid called Isaiah a little white-faced loser and all kinds of, I mean, he was brutal to him. He was pushing him, shoving him, spitting on him, and Isaiah would come over to his mom and said, "Mom," and with tears welling up his eyes, "Mom, I can't do this. I don't know what to do. This kid's being mean." And she's like, "You're a tough boy. You know why we came here." And send him back out. And so he went back out, and the kid was just still brutal. Happened like 4 or 5 different times, and Isaiah was finally almost ready to just break down and cry. And then Libby reiterated, "We're here for a reason. You know why these kids are like this way. We kind of warned them beforehand. These kids are bruised and broken, and we don't know what to expect or what to do, and so just we're going to shine the light of Christ." So he went back out, and actually it ended up where he started doing it to his little brother Ezra, because Ezra was in the mix of it too. And then Isaiah had enough at that point, and they ended up scrapping a little bit, rolled around the ground, duking it out, and they got up. And so they kind of, after that, they separated them, and then they went out on the playground. But Isaiah was just resilient. He would go back to that kid and just kind of stand firm and say he was going to play with them and teach him all this stuff anyway. And so after that, they were out on the playground, and there was a couple of pictures where they were underneath that thing, and him and that kid in the red shirt were just standing there. And all of a sudden, the pod mom gets up and goes over there and starts talking to him, and then she starts scolding the little boy, "Hey, you can't be talking about your parents and talking about stuff." And he's like, "No." He looks at the pod mom. He's like, "I want to tell him my story and why I'm in the orphanage." And so after they sat there, and that little kid, for probably 30 minutes, just poured his heart out to Isaiah. And Isaiah won the trust of that kid to be able to say that. And then they were best friends after that. They played with each other, and that story of his resilience to just putting up with that just kind of proved his love. And so for us to go there thinking we're going to do some sort of ministry, and actually just Isaiah going there and showing that boy some true stance and just not being moved and not being wavered was probably a really impacting moment that God used. And it doesn't have to be me or her that was used by God in that situation. It was Isaiah in that moment. And so to go and do something that you don't think you can do, or we don't have anything to offer. We didn't know what we were going to offer there. And it was just something that God said and put in our heart to do. And so that's kind of our heart, to not say promote this and just do that, but their heart, because they really do have a heart of God to minister and share, and everything they want to do is just because of God gave them a burden. They sold their house and sold everything they had, moved down there, and became directors of this and doing it well and doing it the way God wants it to be done. And so just kind of that spirit we wanted to bring back to you guys for whatever passion with the kids here and doing the food drive, just to do that and do it well. And so Libby has a bunch more statistics about what's going on, and so here she is.
Well, about half that slide, that's why we just ended it. I don't know what happened to it, but it just stopped working. But our experience there, we didn't really know what to expect when we went. We just knew God called us there. We don't know why there. I kind of do now. Anybody that knows my middle son knows that he struggled. And God just really powerfully presented himself there. For him to come back over and over again and just, Mom, this isn't working. And how many times have we come back to our pastors or to our parents and said, this isn't working, it's not working. And he got a very vivid, real show of God and what perseverance and standing firm and walking out what we believe actually means. And I don't want to talk politics, but we have these school shootings, we have all these things going on right now, and really, it's not the guns, it's not bad parenting, it's not all of these things, it's self, and it's, I think the minute you step outside yourself, how could you do any of those things? How could you take another person's life if you're outside yourself and you're looking farther past your own pain? And so that was kind of our hearts in taking our children there. I just really want to encourage you to involve your kids in ministry. And I know out of anything, I just bawled my face off the whole time. I was doing laundry and playing with the little kids, watching Isaiah, and it was really hard not to defend him. But I don't want him to be a victim. He's not going to become the man of God has for him by me defending him. And but I just want to give you some of the statistics there. Robin's Nest was started in 1998 by a gal in the U.S., and they went through a lot of directors. It's hard. When we got there, there's primarily boys, older boys. Nobody adopts them. And we found out really quick why. They are hard. They're a hard classification. They're very damaged. They're very violent. Most of these boys and these kids there have been raised in violent homes. Some of the statistics you didn't get to see on the slide are 60% of all kids on the island have experienced one close family member died of murder. 1 in 2 girls, 50% of all girls nationwide, first sexual experience is rape. And of those girls, it's primarily their fathers. And there's a huge need in the foster system here, and I'm not discrediting that. Where our hearts are with them is they don't have anything past a certain point. At 16, they cannot be in a group home, children's home, orphanage, nothing. They get packed up, they get put on the street, and a good luck. And so that's kind of where our heart is kind of a gap coverage, and where our vision is leading us. And we're just waiting on God to direct that, because it's really easy just to run off and do a bunch of stuff that don't end up turning into being anything. But for that 2 years, kind of our goal is, it's a hard position for those kids to be in, because they can't be hired for employment. They're not an adult, they're still a child, so they can't get an adult job, but they don't have any way to support themselves, so they turn to crime, prostitution. The average age for a prostitute is 10. And we saw them on the streets as we were going, and it's really sickening. But that 2-year gap is where there's a huge need. That's where we kind of really feel led to start something. They don't have anything there for that. And we can do it from here. And we have connections to Jamaica, other ways that we're hoping to be able to utilize. But the first kind of step that needs to be established is homes there that will take these kids at 16 to 18. And then our goal is to create out of this church, start here, and move, out of this valley of scholarships that will, to give you an idea of their economy over there, a gallon of milk is $12, minimum wage is $1.80. So the poverty, it's huge. They can't make it. But if we can make scholarships for that 2-year gap for Jamaican homes to take in these kids, and they have to earn it. They have to prove their way through it. And then our goal is to get them to the U.S. Most of these kids don't have last names that are in the orphanage. That's just a problem there. They don't have a good medical system. They don't have what would you call it, like DSHS, like we have here that take care of kids. They don't have that. So our goal would be to bring them here and have a home within our church body. This particular orphanage had 38 kids. Of those kids, over half have been there 5 years or more, and those kids will be there for life until they life out. And we want to bring them back here, have designated homes that they'll come, go to college, have scholarships, get their education, and then go back to their country and change and break this cycle. And that's the biggest thing, is breaking this cycle. And I really encourage anybody that wants to be involved in this. It's still in the very baby stages. There's a lot of things we have to find out. And it's kind of scary. It's big dreams. But there's a scripture, Romans 8:28, says, "And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose." And we know based on Romans 12:2, "And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of God," the gap. And that's where we're wanting to bridge the gap, his good and acceptable and perfect will. And we know our purpose. I've struggled a lot with what's my purpose, where do I fit, what do I do? Well, first of all, step outside myself. And Psalms 82:3 says, "Defend the weak and the fatherless, uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed." That's our calling, all of us. There's a lot of different avenues to that, but that's kind of where our heart's leading us. And if anybody wants to be involved with it, like I said, it's very baby steps. There's a lot we don't know. But Janet, the director, she's also the nurse there. They sold their whole home in Minnesota, everything, moved up here. Their kids are selling their stuff, moving up there. She wants us to bring a team of 12 back, and our goal is to do that within the next 2 years. We want to bring a really well-rounded team, workers. Another nurse would be great because their dental care and different things there are not real well. There's a lot of things that they want to do, like all those 17 loads of laundry a day are done by hand because they've fried one washing machine after another because of power surges. They got a grant from Jamaica to have solar put in, and so there's a lot going on, and in the next 2 years they're really building. But yeah, there's 76,000 orphans, and there's 2.9 million, do the math there. It's a high percentage of orphans. And that's just what they know. Most of them hide. They don't want to be put in an orphanage. So, but anyways, that's our heart. If anybody wants to kind of be on the ground floor of this or has a heart for that, Ashley, come to us, because we'd really like to get a group of people together to really start working this through. And